want to welcome you back to Black Side. First, I would like for you to subscribe to this channel. Also, hit that like button. And we're going to talk about Officer Gonzalez, LA County Sheriff's Department, who filed a lawsuit against that department. And he says the department is overrun by a police gang called the Executioners. He says this gang is about 1/5 of the police department, which they have about 100 officers in the Compton division. He said 20 of them belong to the executioner gangs. The other 20 are affiliates, and they terrorize the community. They break all kind of laws. They violate everyone's rights. And we know that the LA County Sheriff's Department has been in some serious trouble. The chief of the department had to go to jail this February, where he had to turn himself in. We also know about a deputy chief, Tanaka, back in 2013. He belonged to another gang called the Linwood Vikings. When people used to always say the biggest gang in Los Angeles was the police, they were right. You know, you used to hear NWA and Ice Cube and many rappers on the West Coast talk about what the police used to do to them on the streets of Los Angeles. But this is a serious problem that has been going on for decades, and the LA Police Department has not been cleaned out. You could tell way back in the day when they beat Rodney King in the middle of the street. That just wasn't police officers. That was a gang. That was a street gang. And they have been out there for 30 or 40 years. He says this executioner gang, they walk around with Nazi tattoos. People who cannot belong to this gang, if you're African American and if you're a woman. But they will accept Hispanics. They will accept Asians, as long as they violate the black man's rights. And that's one thing they all have in common. This is why I always say we should never fight for anyone else's rights, because we have no friends. Everybody wants a piece of the black man and black woman. And that's what they have been doing in LA since the police department was formed. This man is a whistleblower. He should be a hero. And I'm wondering why the federal government over the past 50 years haven't cleaned out this department. This department is right full of racism, which has been proven several times in the past, and it's still going on. How can the gang work out in the open and nobody from the state, the federal government arrests these individuals? I just saw an interview with the mayor of Compton being pulled over by these executioner gang members and having her stretch out and put her hands on the wood. We talking about the mayor of Compton. This is the police and the sheriff's department that serves her city. And she had to be humiliated by these officers. And no one has done anything about it. You telling me all the higher ups within that department don't know about these gangs? But many of them belong in these gangs. And as Gonzalez said, you don't get promoted unless you're a member of these gangs. So they conveniently cover up for each other. And this is how many of them make that extra money. They rob drug dealers. They steal from regular residents. They're violent. And they still haven't been weeded out of this department. Now, I want to tell you this. California is supposed to be one of the most liberal states in America. So how can these racists work out in the open? And you know why they can work out in the open? Because I guess they're big funders of the Democrat Party in California. because they have to know what they're doing on the state level, on the federal level. And I'm glad this officer has stepped out and spoken about these gangs so the American people can see what's actually going on in some of these police departments across America when it comes to racism. If this is not going to be addressed, you're going to see more violence across America when it comes to protest and rioting. And this is what this officer is trying to say. You have not only a few bad apples, you probably got 25 to 30% bad apples on the police force. And that's a lot. Violating everyone's human rights. I want to see what Mayor Garcetti does out in Los Angeles. What is Gavin Newsom doing as governor of California? Because this should not be going on in the Golden State. But evidently, this has become ingrained in the police departments of LA to where you have 4 or 5 different gangs. Hell, it's like they running a damn fraternity out there. They get new initiates. Once you get in, you get a special tattoo. He said you get a special tattoo if you shoot somebody or if you kill someone. That's not a police officer. That's a thug. And these are the same people who out there saying they're trying to protect and serve the community while they're out there robbing the community. We need more police officers like Gonzalez who are whistleblowers, because so many across the country are scared to come out and say that we have corruption on the police force. They are terrified of their fellow officers because they know what they can do. They have heard what they can do, and some of them have seen what they can do. They are no different than the Crips, Bloods, MS-13. The only thing they have on is a white shirt and a badge, to where they can legally harass and sometimes commit crimes in the open. We always talked about, why don't they weed out the bad cops? How can you weed out the bad cops when the cops on the police force won't come tell the public about the bad cops? But you see Mr. Gonzalez do it because he was a former Marine veteran. A man who was distinguished, who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. So when he saw this going on, they either gave him an ultimatum: you join us, or you will be on the outside. And you know what they did to him. They wrote on a post that Gonzalez was a rat. You a police officer, and you calling a fellow police officer who's following the law a rat. So you know what they had in store for Officer Gonzalez, and it definitely was not good. We have to be mindful, and we have to protect ourselves against these criminal police officers. And we have to be mindful that they're just as worse as some of the criminals walking the streets of America. I want to thank you for listening to Black Site. I hope you subscribe to this channel, smash that like button, and share this video.